This week at Bomberland, Michael Hibberd has been suspended by the club following a police investigation into a late-night incident over the weekend.
He's been suspended on the basis of being out, drinking at a time we felt was inappropriate, and also being involved in an altercation.
Young gun Jake Carlisle has re-signed with the club, pending a 2-year extension.
Yeah, no, pretty excited. You know, a lot of hard work, and when I got here I was pretty nervous, but yeah, all things are going in place and got another couple of years, which is good.
And on tonight's show, some big names back into the side for Saturday night's clash with the Swans. Andrew Welsh catches up with Michael Ross after his bruising first game.
Well, I got the ball and kind of had a look around, then don't know what happened, just got smashed to the ground. Big cloaky come from behind and bang.
We'll delve into the Bomber Vault as club legend Terry Danaher reflects on past glories. Josh Jenkins follows up his popular blog with a video tour of the Bomber locker room.
Dustin Fletcher's jocks. Every day after training he likes to hang them up there in front of the heater.
And we'll count down the Facebook fan poll plays of the week as voted by you. Welcome to the second episode of The Bomber Show. I'm Sarah Jones. This week we're joined by Jason Winderlich and midfield coach Simon Goodwin ahead of what is a massive game this weekend against the Swans. Welcome, guys. It is really a must-win clash this weekend, Simon.
Yeah, it certainly is. You know, I think anytime we come to this stage of the year, a win's really important, and obviously against the Swans we know it's going to be a tough game, and they're sort of in that same range fighting for a spot in the 8.
And they got the Bombers' measure earlier in the year, and what was a pretty thrilling encounter, Jason?
Yeah, it was, Sarah. I think we ended up losing by 2 or 3 points, went right down to the wire. I think it was just the ball bounced out of the reach of Brent Stanton right at the end, but yeah, we should have won that game as well.
Match committee this week, Simon. How many fit players were available for selection? I'm tipping not too many.
I think we had about 26, but it was great to get a few back, that's for sure. Obviously, getting a few key players back was really beneficial and gave us some real selection headaches in the end.
Well, there is some good news ahead of selection this week. We're going to have a look at some of the big names that are back in. Let's get the word straight from the coach, James Hird.
And thank you, Sarah. Yes, round 20 against the Sydney Swans this week after a disappointing second half against the Magpies last week, in which we're in the game for sort of 2.5 quarters, but unfortunately couldn't hang on to the rampaging Magpies. Michael Ross thought last week was very good, so he stays in the team for his second game, which is great. It's really good to see Ross and also Jake Carlisle playing only a handful of games so far in his career. Terrific to stand up in the back line. This week we're lucky enough to have Dustin Fletcher come back, Michael Hurley come back, and Heath Hocking come back, which is a great result. Very experienced players, and obviously some of our best players come back in the team. Makes a stronger side. Unfortunately, losing Brent Prismal to an ACL, a reconstruction, means he won't play, and Travis Collier also out of the team with a sore ankle, which should only be 1 or 2 weeks. So we're looking forward to getting him back, and also Tate Pears the next week or so will come back, which will be good. Unfortunately for Tommy Bell-Chambers, he will be on emergency with Andrew Welsh and Henry Slatty. So a huge game, Essendon versus the Sydney Swans at Etihad Stadium on Saturday night. Hopefully we get as many supporters there as possible.
And here is the team that all Bombers fans are hoping can bring down the Sydney Swans. Hocking, Hurley and Fletcher, some pretty handy inclusions there. Prismal, Collier both out injured. Bell-Chambers has been omitted. Is that the team that can do it?
Absolutely, you know, to get those sort of 3 quality players back, I think Michael Hurley's flexibility to go forward or back is really critical for us. We all know what Dustin Fletcher does in the back line, and to have Heath Hocking back, I think he's been one of our most important players for the year, and they've got some pretty key midfielders that we'll certainly have to keep a close eye on.
Is Kyle Hardingham okay? He obviously was injured over the weekend, a bit of a corky to his thigh.
Yeah, he's had a very light week at training, but he's recovered really well, and he's certainly a key player for us down back.
The scoreboard probably didn't reflect the positives that came out of the match last week against Collingwood. One of them was Paddy Ryder's performance on Travis Cloke. At 3/4 time, he held him goalless and had only scored 1 mark against him. Were you impressed with how Paddy adapted to the half-back line?
Yeah, it's something we've been trying to do all year, really, to get him across centre half back and really have a look at him there. And I guess with the injuries to Hooker, Hurley and Pears, it gave us that great opportunity to send him back. Cloke's the sort of player that's given us a lot of trouble over a period of time. I think probably the last 4 encounters he's probably dominated all those games. So for Paddy to go back and do what he did was fantastic.
And Jason, you would have been really impressed with the skipper. 27 touches, he started on fire, and I suppose as he had to play a bit more game time, he perhaps dropped off, but it was a really solid performance.
Yeah, it's terrific. That's what we expect from Job. He's the ultimate professional, leads by example all the time, and The way he's done his rehab over the last 4 weeks has been terrific. Had that little hiccup along the way, but yeah, he was sensational.
The Swans have won the last 2 against the Bombers, so we need to turn the tables this weekend. I want to talk to you about Jude Bolton, Simon. He has a pretty good record against Essendon, and he was the match winner earlier in the year.
He certainly was. He came up through the midfield, earlier in the year and really turned the game from between himself and Adam Goodes. They both came into the midfield and had big impact. So he's certainly a player that's played well against us over the last couple of times, and someone we're going to keep a very close eye on. And it's great to get someone like Heath Hocking back in the team who can play a role on a key midfielder, but also to have Brent Stanton do a really good job in the first half on Scott Pendlebury last week gives us another option through the midfield.
Jason, Adam Goodes must be a pretty imposing figure out there when he's in full flight.
Yeah, he is. He's the size of a key position player, and when you've got someone of his size that always starts on the defensive side of a stoppage and is always on the burst going through, it's very hard to stop. But we always had the good match-up in Mark Bolton, but now that he's retired, Heath Hocking, I think, will be a terrific match-up on him.
Well, as we said before, plenty of injuries, unfortunately, at Windy Hill. And as we have a look at it all on the one screen, it doesn't make for pretty reading. Take us through some of those, Simon, and some of the guys that hopefully will be coming back before the season's out.
Yeah, Tate Pears was probably pretty close this week. He'll probably play next week. Nathan Lovett-Murray plays his first game back from a calf. He's been out for the last 6 or 7 weeks. Cale Hooker's probably 2 weeks away. Scotty Gumbledon will play in the VFL this week. David Myers is back. David Zaharakis will be fine, and the rest are sort of long-term injuries. It's obviously a shame to lose another one in Brent Prismal to a knee, and obviously Jason's going to keep him in check through his rehab.
I'm sure you will, absolutely. Well, General Manager of Football Operations, Paul Hamilton, has more on the growing injury list at Windy Hill.
Travis Collier has damaged ligaments in his ankle and also a medial ligament strain on the same side. And Brent Prismal, of course, has damaged his ACL and will be out for the rest of the year. But in good news, we've confirmed after training today that Michael Hurley will return, as will Heath Hocking and Dustin Fletcher. So we also can confirm that Andrew Welsh and Nathan Lovett-Murray shall return. They're both available to play as well, but will find their way through the VFL team.
Well, Jason, obviously you know exactly what Brent Prismal's going through at the moment. What will your role be in his progress and rehab? Will you help him along that path because you're going through it yourself now?
Yeah, definitely. I'm dragging Courtney along at the moment, so hopefully back doesn't get too sore carrying those two. But when Brent first came to the club, unfortunately he'd already done a knee as well, and I was doing my rehab after my second back operation, so we worked together really well. He's a terrific trainer. I love working with him because he's a little bit better endurance than what I've got, but I've got him covered for speed. So it's good to have someone to chase in rehab when you're doing it together. Absolutely.
Sounds like a great idea and a great way to both progress along through that rehab. Simon, tell us a bit about your role at the club and what a regular week looks like for you.
Yeah, obviously looking after the midfield, so spent a lot of time early in my week reviewing games with players on a one-on-one basis. Obviously there's a lot of ways to teach players the way you want them to play and teaching opportunities, and obviously doing edits with players, but also working with them on the training track and in our craft room is really important to their development. So early in the week spent a lot of time on that. Also spent a lot of time looking at opposition stoppages, midfield setups, and sort of getting the week ready so we can present to the players later in the week.
Well, you sound like a very busy assistant coach. We're now going to see if Sean Wellman is earning his keep at Windy Hill. He went through some of Paddy Ryder's great game against Travis Cloke with young defender Luke Davis. Let's have a look at that.
So, how far is the ball away?
A couple of kicks.
A couple of kicks.
So it's the best position.
So Paddy's position?
Yep.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
Yep.
Why is it good?
Well, because he can see where his player is and where the ball is.
What's he done now?
Now he knows the ball's getting closer, so he starts to move a bit closer to his man as the ball's getting closer, but still knows where the ball is and where his man is.
Yep.
Still got best position on him.
Good. What do you reckon his opponent's looking for?
A bit of muscle. He wants to try and wrestle with him.
Yep.
Out-muscle him.
Yep. So what's he done well?
Sort of like hasn't really given him what Cloke wants to do.
Yep.
Which is out muscle, so we sort of stayed off him until the last minute, come in and spoiled it out of bounds.